My informative speech is on OCD, also known as obsessive compulsive disorder. OCD is defined as a disorder of the brain and behavior. It is made up of two different parts, obsessions and compulsions. Obsessions are known as strong reoccurring thoughts, actions, and images or impulses. The compulsions are an active type of behavior that a person does repeatedly to try and reduce stress levels and anxiety caused by the obsessions. I know that I've seen a documentary on TV before, True Life or something like that, and it was about OCD. And it almost hurt my feelings to see how bad and how extreme that it could get, to that point to where it pretty much took over the person's life. They had relationships with people that it had ruined. And, people talk about, oh, I have OCD, and we all have, some people have a touch of it. I know that I have a little touch of it, but it's things like making sure my bathroom's clean. Not to the point where it's scary, like crazy clean, but I like for my bathroom to be clean. Things like that. But, on the show True Life, it got to the point where she was so obsessed with things like cutting the light off 16 times, turning around in a circle, doing it again. Things like that, just little obsessions that have to be done in order for them to move on to the next part of their day. No matter how hard, that she tried, the compulsions and obsessions don't just go away. You have to actually have help and therapy, to relieve yourself of these obsessions. Symptoms of OCD are embarrassment, repeated thoughts of unwanted things, sometimes maybe pleasant, sometimes not, affecting one's daily routine, just like that girl. She would spend 30 minutes of her time each morning doing these little things, like cutting the light on and off, shutting the door, making sure it was locked over and over and over again, and that took out a large portion of her day. Her routine, it had effects on those things. And having difficulty performing normal routines, like waking up, brushing your teeth. Simple things that should take a couple of minutes each. Seeking help, trained licensed professionals, someone that the patient feels comfortable with, that they can trust, that they feel like they can talk to without being judged, or, that without being critiqued in a way that they feel is overbearing or hurtful. There are different types of treatments, cognitive behavioral therapy, exposure and response prevention, and medication can also help. It's very serious and should definitely be taken care of immediately, especially whenever it starts to take over a person's life and has that big effect on not only their life, but their family's life, their spouse, their children. It can be so bad that a person becomes just homebound from their homebound from their job or from school. I think also in the episode it showed one girl who had gotten so bad and so overwhelming that she would just throw these tantrums, and she would rarely go out. She would rarely even be seen in public, and it just got so bad. And it showed her actually going to therapy and slowly weaning her off of these awful compulsions. And it showed her, from one time she would have to cut the light on and off 16 times, like I said, do a circle, do it again. And the doctor told her, it's okay for you to do this, but let's cut back a little bit. Let's only do it one time and see, we'll go from there. So she would gradually wean off of these compulsions to the point of where she was no longer having to sit there and waste that time on those compulsions. It's so important that people with OCD that is this bad do seek help. And if you ever had an abnormal psych class or a psych class, psych class has probably touched on OCD a little bit. Like I said, there are different types. Not all of them are as severe as the one as the girl on True Life or whatever the documentary was. But there are some cases that are very minor, that you could probably break within days. There are sometimes people just like to be clean or just have little quirks to themselves that they do. Sometimes I have a friend that doesn't like for the volume of the radio to be an odd number. They like for it to be an even number, which doesn't bother me at all. As long as it's comfortable, it doesn't bother me. But that bothers them. So it just depends on the person and their preference. It's tough, dealing with things like that, especially when it does get to the point of it being so extreme, like the girl in the video.